Hey everyone, I'm talking in Kathy's microphone. Welcome. We're going to take the next 10 minutes to let people log in. So we'll start right at 1 o'clock.
What camera?
Huh?
What camera?
This one?
Back here
No,
or
you'll
here?
be talking into this
Okay.
one. When you talk into this one. That was just showing right now. That's my roving camera that I'll move around and
Okay.
around.
I'm about to lose that sun down
What?
on the building. That's
Shade.
so yeah. There's the shade's gonna take it over.
You draw it?
Yep.
Well, you want to hold your sketchbook, hold it toward this black camera, okay?
Okay.
If you want to show it. In about 5 minutes, we're going to get rolling, but we're just taking these 10 minutes to let everyone log in. Hope you can hear me.
My shirt.
They can hear every word.
My shirt.
Yeah,
is
looks
it?
good.
Is it? No, that's not what I was asking. Is it too bright, or it's working okay?
No, I think it's great.
Okay.
It'd be too late to go change it anyway.
Well, yeah. For next time. There's so much to say.
There's so much to say, she says, but I'm not letting her start yet. We got a couple more minutes till everyone gets here. And welcome, everyone. We will, okay, see, it's not a tip.
Tell me it's not.
Let's say it's not. Nope, it's not. We'll start in a couple minutes. Welcome.
That's not a very encouraging thing to talk about right from the beginning.
Just kind of what it is, isn't it, baby?
Yep.
Let's roll.
Yes.
Welcome, 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 welcome. I've got some housekeeping that when she lets me, I'll go, but this is your gig, so let it roll.
Let's do it. I am over the moon about being outside, and we've done a few of these Zoom workshops, and the fact that we are doing this one fully plein air just makes me so excited. This is where I feel most comfortable when I'm painting, and I know that could be real different for a lot of people because there are a lot of comforts from being inside and painting from our comfortable homes. But there are times that I cannot paint in my studio because I need to be outside. I have grown to love it that much, and I've learned so much from it. A photograph just doesn't do a scene justice in a lot of ways. Yes, they can be used, but those photos can also really lie to us. And they can leave things out. They can leave little bits of light out that I can see when I'm plein air painting. That we have got all levels joining us today. We have got folks that have not been outside yet to plein air paint, and they just want to know more about it. And then we've got some of you who love it as much as I do. So I'm going to start with my setup and equipment, and all of this can be found on my website. there are lists of materials that I use, but I am going to talk about them today. And I'm going to get started by just showing how. Actually, I'm not going to show everything because we have cameras set up and I can't completely start with putting my tripod up and then my box and all that. At some point, I hope to be able to show you that when we figure out how, but I can walk you through it, talk you through it with my setup that's already here. So that's kind of where we're going to start. You've got something to say.
I do. And I'm going to use your microphone. You can stay right there.
Yeah.
But welcome, everyone. This is our farm in East Tennessee, just nestled up against the Great Smoky Mountains. And we've been here just a little over a year. We love it. It's a little 5-acre spot. And we're glad you can.
It keeps getting bigger. I think the more you weed eat, it gets bigger.
Welcome to our 6-acre spot here. Hey, this is being recorded and you'll have access to it to several months later. So if you're tuning in later, there are some folks that haven't that are not streaming live right now. If you're not here, welcome. But you can also watch this later. You will receive an email from me later on today, from us, and this evening, and it'll give you a link on how to be able to do that. Be patient with Zoom, but everything should go as hoped. It is a funny thing that Kathy says the cameras will lie to you, but we're using all sorts of cameras. And we've got 4 angles on this just so we can do the best we can to get Kathy and her work and the scene and everything going up here. Also, we didn't send you an image of what she's going to paint today because she's using her eyes and not a photo. But I do have it, and I'll be putting it up from time to time so that you can see. But she'll work off of her sketch and things like that. You'll also hear me, of course, interrupting and interacting. And so really welcome and thank you so much for signing up. This will be great fun.
Okay, I'm going to start from the very beginning. I walk outside the door with a hat on, not to be cute.
Oh my
not
gosh,
to be.
I won't do this again. You know I will. Something about your hat not to be cute. Remember that thought. Look, down on the bottom, there's a Q&A button. If you have a question that you feel like it's pertinent, ask and I will answer. It will be this way. And if you have some questions that you want to ask Kathy at the last 30 minutes of our 2.5 hours together, write those down and send them to me later. Just wanted you to open the Q&A, not that chat box over to the right, but the little says Q&A at the bottom. What about your hat?
I think I was talking about it's not to just be cute. I think so many of us love the fact that we get to buy a really fun hat. But and you'll see a lot of plein air painters out there with really fun, cute hats. But it is so much more than that. It helps make the world a lot smaller. There's still a lot out here to paint, but that the brim just makes it that much better. I suggest a neutral color. I've seen people out with red hats with the bill that's red. I wear an orange hat a lot, but the underneath bill is black and it's perfect. Those colors that you have on with a hat or your clothes could influence your painting. Now, more about that, I wear what's comfortable. And we're in Tennessee today, hot. It's a little warm for spring. I mean, there's a really sweet, cool breeze, but I want to be comfortable. And sometimes just a white cotton shirt helps me feel a lot cooler. People suggest when you plein air paint, or really in the studio, I guess, to wear a lot of gray. I'm not really a person that does that, but I get it. The gray helps neutralize everything. There is reflection on your canvas. So just be aware of that. I think I can pretty much leave that alone when it comes to comfort. I want the comfort of I want to enjoy my time. This is something I look forward to. So, for me today, the hat is good just for making the world smaller. It also takes the glare way out. All of a sudden, I can see more with a hat on. So, we're not doing it just to be cute. We really need it in a lot of ways. Okay, then, second thing is I have a table over here set up with a lot of things that I need during a paint session. So it's number one on my list is sunscreen. Um, I've run into the big no skin cancer and I don't want to run into it anymore. So I really want to make a point of take care of yourself. If we're doing something that we love so much, let's do it for a long time and let's take care of ourselves. So sunscreen is huge. Bug spray. I want to do a shout out about this bug spray. It's Australian Gold insect repellent. They make sunscreen, they make suntan lotion. They found that they did some research when anybody was using their sunscreen, the bugs would leave them alone. I've just been to Florida at an awesome event and spent a lot of time down there, and the no-see-ums liked me better than anything else. I had bites everywhere. And so we found out a little too late that this was a great insect repellent. So I'm trying it out today in Tennessee. I'll let you know if it takes care of chiggers and mosquitoes and all those things after I've tried it here. But really excited about that. And then also, I really talk a lot about the Invisible Care lotion. This you can buy, I believe, at Jerry's online, but just Google it. I'm not so sure where it could be. You're moving me on cameras. I just need to know. Okay. I guess if you just point, that'll work. Yeah, put it right. But anyway, Invisible Care. I use this before I get anywhere close to my paints. So before I'm setting up my box or anything, I apply this. Now, if you're just getting started, get used to wearing rubber gloves. I'm not used to that. I didn't start with them. And I tend to use my fingers a lot. I can do a lot of finger painting. But anyway, I do use this, and I'll tell you this about it. When I go to clean my hands after oil paint is all over them, it comes off so much easier. I do feel protected. I don't want to say that it will protect you completely because I don't know that. And we all really need to think about what we're using. There are some pigments that are in our oil paints that we really don't want to absorb. And I know that there have been situations where a lot of full-time painters have felt like that it could really make us sick. So I recommend the gloves. Next, I recommend this. And I would do it before you set. Sometimes I would think I'll put it on before I start painting. But when I'm putting paint out on my palette is when I get the most paint on me. So that's definitely something to think about. Okay, water, hydrate. I know we're not out climbing mountains or doing zip lines or whatever, but we need to hydrate. And when I get started painting, I am so myopic that the whole world could pass me by and I would not notice it. But definitely have your water there and ready and make sure it looks different than your mineral spirits. We don't want anybody drinking their mineral spirits. So in that, I would highly recommend a brush cleaner for that. And I'll show you that in a few minutes. Now, setup. I'm going to just talk to you about what I've got here and what I've done. I get out. First thing I do is I am walking around and I am finding my scene to paint. Even before I take everything out of the car, if I'm not on location at my house, I'm usually not. I'm usually out painting in the Smoky Mountains or in the area of Knoxville, Tennessee, East Tennessee. And I can drive up on a scene and think, what on earth am I going to paint here? But then I get out of the car and I start walking around and I spend a whole lot of time just painting with my eyes, thinking, what do I want to capture? What stops me in my tracks as I'm walking around a beautiful place? I'm a part of a plein air group here in East Tennessee, and we go to several different locations and a lot that I am not used to or I've never been to. I get myself familiar with where I am. And this is why the more you do that and you notice how much more you see, the longer you're in an area. This morning I sat up here, I'm in my own yard, and all of a sudden I see this feather, and I see it. I think it's a hawk feather, and all of a sudden they're everywhere around me, and there was some action going on here, probably last night, and I would have never noticed that if I hadn't really spent some time right here where I think I want to paint. There is so much that nature gives us besides just a pretty scene. And the fact that I can be in the thick of it and in the middle of it and do what I love just sells me that much more on plein air painting. I'm looking over at my little barn that y'all can't see. We have a little barn, and Buddy has put all our vegetables out that we're going to put in the garden, and I could barely see them earlier, but as soon as I put my hat on, as soon as I let my eyes acclimate, did I say that right? I'm horrible with that. But anyway, as soon as my eyes got used to the environment, now I really see so much more. And that's going to have to be painted. Let me just say that. But it's not so much what I want to start with you all today. We're gonna bring in all the elements of sky, ground, trees, uprights, and even a little building. So all of those things are things that attract me to plein air painting, and it also will teach us a whole lot about it. But set up, I walk around, I'm thinking, where do I want to set up? And then I get my tripod. It's the very first thing. Oh, where? Okay. I can't do two things at once. Buddy's telling me where to look. And so y'all just, it's a comedy act for a little while. Put up with us, and then
Look at this.
maybe I'll get used to it. But anyway, my tripod goes in place first, where I want to stand to paint what I'm going to do. And that's number one. I use a Manfrotto 290 Extra, XTRA. That's after buying about 3 or 4 tripods. It's the best as far as Kathy's concerned. So every piece of equipment that I tell you about has proven itself to me, and that took a lot, and it took a lot of money to get to where I was really comfortable and happy. So I'm hoping to save you money. If you're serious about this, what are they called? impression, the first one I had, the wood box.
The Alla Prima box?
No, this is Alla Prima.
I'm sorry.
French easel.
Yeah.
The French easel is a wonderful place to start. It's you can find them for under $100. They are they're workhorses. They're great in the wind. They aren't going to blow around on you. It's a great first easel. For me, after the first year or two, I knew I was serious about this, and I knew I wanted something that was a little quicker, a little bit more compact, a little lighter in weight because I'm lugging things around. And I have tried several different boxes that go on tripods. And the one that I'm crazy about is Alla Prima Poche box. All you have to do is Google that, Alla Prima Poche box. It'll pop up. The owner, Ben Haggett, builds these boxes one at a time. He is a painter. He is a plein air painter. He has made these to make him happy, and he's really made Kathy Odom happy. So, in fact, this is my second one because I've almost worn out the first one, and I paint a whole lot outside. So
it's an 11 by 14 Yellowstone.
It's an 11 by 14 Yellowstone box, and it's the one that I have. He has several different ones. I like carrying my paints separate from the box, but he has a box that you can actually put your tubes of paint in also. My paints travel around in a plastic box you can buy at any craft store, and they're
fishing tackle box.
Or fishing tackle. There's just several options on where to find those. Also, the box is the reason I really like this brand is it has wings, and it puts together and gives me more of a table in front of me. And that's a plus for me. It's also pretty lightweight, and
got the camera on there.
It just works. Just to show you that I've added a few elements. The box is all wooden. It's also got magnet features that help put it away. And the magnets just make the job easier. And at some point, like I said, we will talk about that more. But I like working on glass. And I had a piece of glass cut from a glass manufacturer in town. I made sure that they sanded the edges, and at first I thought about having the glass in the whole box, and there was a little wooden indentation that kept me from being able to do that. And I was so disappointed. I had measured everything, and I wanted them to cut that little piece out of the glass, and they said they were going to charge me $40-something. I said, whoa, wait a minute. I know glass doesn't cost that much. And I said, let me think about this a minute. I had the glass cut short on two sides. That gave me a trench for my paints. And because I work on glass, if the paint was on the glass, it would slide all over the place when I put it up in my car or box that I move everything around in. The paint would have just been a mess. This trench keeps my paint exactly where I want it, and that tickles me pink. So that's definitely an element that I like a lot about this box. I have tried other boxes that had glass, on the whole palette, and it just was such a distraction for me. So knowing that things could be a mess, this takes care of all that. I also lay down Viva paper towels on both of the wings, and that's there for many reasons. I could also use that area for mixing, but instead, for me, that area is for when I need to get a lot of mineral spirits out of my brush. I put too much, or I put too much paint, and I can wipe over on the paper towels. So that works for me. If you're working without this setup, you could have a little table beside you, which I also have. It's a camping aluminum folding table. It is so lightweight, and another great plus. And I think I found mine at a sporting goods store. I think Walmart might carry them. I'm going to be doing a lot of commercials today. But anyway, just to help you get further down the road, but also you could have your paper towels on the table beside you. It's just great. A friend of mine uses an old telephone book. She wipes her brushes, gets all that extra off by having an old telephone book beside her. That is in the studio. So, but I thought, what a great idea. I don't get telephone books anymore, but what a great idea. That's an idea. But the aluminum table, I recommend. I kind of, when I come outside, create my own little studio. Some plein air painters can get away with using a backpack and just a few supplies in a small backpack. That's not quite Kathy Odom. There are things I want, there's things that I think I need, and I just feel better if I've got those things with me as I'm painting. So beside me is the box that everything came out here in, and it has rollers. I'm really fond of it. It's got big wheels, so it'll travel over a lot of different kinds of terrain. And the name of it is Milwaukee Toolbox. I think it's a lot of electricians use this box. So everything kind of comes out in the box with rollers. And then the table folds, and it can pile on the box, or I carry it in one of my hands. And if I'm trying to get down to a creek stream or something where I've got to be a little bit more careful, just holding that table almost acts like a cane. Really helps steady me. I'm older. Some of you don't have to think about these things, but this is something that I definitely have to think about right now. So anything that helps steady me is a good thing. What's next? The table. Of course, I have my brushes with me, all the things I need. Now, I say that and I want to chuckle because I have been out plein air painting, left my brushes at home. I've been out plein air painting, left my tripod at home. I have been out, left my palette at home. At one point, I had a separate palette that I put my paint in on. So that's why I really love this box that has all that in the same place. But make a list. If you are a plein air painter now and you are laughing because you know exactly what I'm saying and you've done the same thing. Did I say I left my brushes one time? I remembered that down in my rolling box, somebody had given me a brush. I painted an entire painting with one brush because I had only one brush with me. But I did find out that grass could do some kind of cool things. So there's, I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. But if you're making a list of the things that you need to leave home with before you enter into the national park, or you travel to the other side of your county, or you know this great location and you've gotten there and you've left things at home, make a list. Have that checklist by your door. By, you know, if you have a studio, grab it. um, just check off. Make sure that you've got things with you. There's nothing more disappointing than being up for a day of painting and then not having everything you need. And yesterday, I was with 2C Painters in East Tennessee, and one of the gals left her tripod at home. We all tried to help and figure it out. She ended up painting on two stools that were set up side by side, and she put her canvas on that, and she came up with a gorgeous painting. So, you know, these are those things that I will talk a lot about troubleshooting, because we're kind of fighting nature a little bit. We're doing something very different by plein air painting. Now the world is becoming full of us. There's a lot of, I mean, the magazine, we have magazines about it. We have a lot of people getting out and finding the love of this. But there's just a lot of elements that we really don't talk about. I'm going to talk about those. Um, and Because I'm here to give you everything I've got as far as plein air painting. So we'll see how that goes. Any questions you have are very welcomed.
Talk briefly, honey, about the gray paint, the color of your glass, and how did you adhere it?
Okay. My box having the glass inside, before I adhered it to the box, I bought a mid range value gray, right in the middle of the value scale from dark to light. I went kind of in the middle, got a spray can of paint from Home Depot and sprayed the back of it. Then I attached it with double stick tape, and it has worked. It has not disappointed me. It has not come loose. I think once you get your channel of paints going, in the ditch here, that also helps it stay in. But there is the possibility of dropping your box. And I think I might have done that several years ago, or somebody I knew did. And, you know, the glass cracked. No big deal. You just get a safe tool, get it out of there, and get another piece cut. I have not had that happen in ever since I've had this box, and that's been 6 or 7 years. But that's the reasoning behind. You know, I would like to tell you I'm always thinking about the values. I may be distinctually thinking about it, but I do think this gray paint really helps me in that. When I'm mixing on top of it, I'm definitely seeing what's darker, what's lighter, where I am on the value scale. So that's a good reason for that. Now, attachments that I have added. They sell these little brass brush holders, and I just love the way it looked, to be quite honest. But I bought this from Gorilla Painters, or Judson's. I think they're the same company. But the little lip on this fits my box completely. So it's there. And I use that for dirty brushes. You will see me as I'm painting and I need to move to a new brush. I will put the ones that are full of paint into that little bucket. This is this is very, I think, valuable, is when you're getting everything set up and you have a setup, you have an easel, you have your poche box or your French easel, having a habit of putting things in the same spot every time will help you. You're not always looking for what you need. Um, I, don't want to be so fussy, but I'm really fussy about this. I want to know where things are. And if I know where they are instinctually, I'm thinking more about what I'm going to paint than where is what I need, where is the brushes, where is. So I set this up like this every time I go out. And it took me a while to find my system. It may take you a while, but as far as use me, abuse me, try out my system and see if it works for you, and then do what is best for you once you get out there and get to doing this a lot. Um, this I don't use often, but this little part of the easel has holes in it for brushes because I am on a camera in front of you today. The fact that that thing has that and I can look and find the brush I need faster, hey, why not? When I am in a quick draw, which a lot of our plein air events will have quick draws and they'll invite the community to come paint. You may have to pay a little bit of money. It's a great experience, a great thing to do. They'll give us 2 hours from start to finish. Um, Anything I can do with my setup to help that time, me have more time at painting, hey, I take advantage of it. So my brushes are here at my side. They are now that I've shown y'all some things have moved on top of them, but the brushes are here at the side. They're in my brush holder. I always have wet wipes by me because I really like to every now and then do housekeeping. Every now and then I've just got to clean my hands, and baby wipes are just absolutely great for that. Kroger, our local grocery store, has them 10 packages for $10. You can't beat that. It's awesome. My table gives me a spot for my paper towels to be. All these lotions and bug sprays normally stay in my bag. I've pulled them out just so I could show you, but they're right here if I need them. Water. I had a new painting friend actually give me a whistle. I live in an area that we have had black bears on our property. I haven't had to use it. It's still in its package. But hey, depending on where you live, it wouldn't hurt to have a few of these things. Um, I also have a friend that lives out west. She will go out plein air painting by herself, and she goes packing. She goes with a gun in the car. I don't know that I will ever get to that point of doing that. It's not really. Buddy's with me a lot, and I just don't think I'm going to go somewhere where I'm having to think that I need that. But who knows? Then also, I have different tools as far as what I paint with, and I'm going to get to that here in a second while I'm painting. Clamps. You can't have enough clamps. I have this little bitty one, this little red one that I put on my sketchbook that keeps my pages on my. Once I've made a sketch of what I'm going to paint, the paper could just go flying. We're outside. I clamp that so that Betty really, I should give him credit for this because he would take his ink pen and clamp my pages with his ink pen because he could see my frustrations. He travels with me when I go on events. And so I've learned a lot just from things that he sees that are helpful. So give him that credit. I did find a cute little clamp that I'm really happy with. But I take larger ones too. And they come in handy for several different reasons. They do help clamp a larger canvas onto my box that it won't naturally hold, but I can clamp a larger canvas on it. Um, Also, it might be that I need to clamp my umbrella, which we haven't talked about, how important that is. But I'll clamp the umbrella to this Milwaukee toolbox that helps carry everything. And if I'm on concrete, I can have my umbrella, which normally sticks in the ground. It's made to stick in the ground. And if I'm on concrete or in a downtown urban scene, I can clamp the umbrella to that toolbox and it's not going to go anywhere. That is really helpful. The umbrella is called Shade Buddy. I'm not kidding there. We get tickled at the fact that it's the same name as my better half. But anyway, the Shade Buddy is without a doubt the best umbrella I think out there for plein air painting. There are a lot of umbrellas that are attached to your easel. I have seen a lot of, no, I have not just seen it, I've experienced it. The umbrella attached to my box has literally acted like a sail and has taken my whole setup 10 feet and dropped it. It, we are fighting the elements. And I can tell you a story that happened a couple of weeks ago that I'm not going to tell you now because you may not ever go out and try to plein air paint. But it was a comedy act and also very hard because it was a really windy day. And so we run into those things. We can choose not to be out there on that kind of day. We can choose to be inside on that kind of day. But to experience once a lot of wind is something that I won't forget. And I've experienced it more than once because I'm that determined. But I don't let yourself miss out on something really, really fun by worried about any element of weather. I've painted with my feet in the snow. I've painted on a windy day. I had painted with it raining so hard I could barely see the scene, but the back of my car goes up and I can sit in there and try to stay dry and really have a fun experience of painting something that is just different than a bright sunny day. And I'm up for that challenge and I really recommend it. So I think, let me tell you about the brush cleaner and then we're going to move on into a painting. I use this little brush cleaner that you've seen in most of the art stores. It's wonderful. It has a clamped lid where this doesn't spill, and they're a little pricey. I will be honest, they're a little pricey, but what it's worth not to have this spill all in your travel box or all over your car is well worth it. I use Gamsol mineral spirits, and this was an awesome find that just kind of happened. this little ring, I'm going to try to pull it off of here without getting it all over me. This little ring, Gorilla Painter was selling, and they were calling it a wine glass holder. It has the little thing that sits on the edge of a box or easel, and then it has the ring. Well, it's the exact size that this little brush cleaner needs. There for a while, we couldn't find these, and I don't know if we ever did. I'm hoping you can find
Just
it.
check that equipment list on your website under the
Okay.
workshop.
Buddy says check the equipment list and it'll tell you as much as we know about that. The fact that that little can will sit in that and I can attach it to my box has the mineral spirits right where I need it. I know where it is every time. And I just love the fact that I figured out that way of doing my mineral spirits. Some people hang their mineral spirits from a hook down here. This works really well for me. And I'm crazy about it. The fact that this thing is put together with magnets, these arms or wings magnetized to the back of my box. And then there's a strap that helps them keep on. So they come off and they go on the box. And but I use those magnets for other things. The fact that I can put my palette knife right there and a magnet grabs it just tickles me pink. I really love, I've said that before. I might say it again. But anyway, the fact that I know where that palette knife is, I use a palette knife a lot in my painting, and I actually have a favorite palette knife that I absolutely, if I lose it, I'm just gonna have a conniption fit. And if I think that a workshop student has walked off with my palette knife, I will hunt you down. Um, it is it is just one that I've had a long time. It's burnished just right. It makes a line that I know it's going to make. And if you have dirty palette knives in your set, get those things cleaned. Get them cleaned, and you'd be surprised at what they are able to do for you. Um, it I run into a lot of palette knives that have just got dried paint all over them, and I don't know how the artist is using that to do what I like to do. So, of course, we all have our different ways. We are all artists. We are all going to paint differently. We all have our own calligraphy in the way that we paint. I've been told that you can see one of my paintings and they know that Kathy Odom painted it. Isn't that what we want? To paint our own way. And but we get there from learning these things from each other and learning about equipment, learning how others do it. And then we take a piece from each person that we sit under, and it becomes us, and it becomes the artist that we want to be. Um, some of you have taken a Zoom class from me before within the year, or you've been in one of my workshops, and you will hear me say things that I have said several times. I'm not ashamed of that, and I'm excited for you because sometimes we hear it and it just goes somewhere else. Sometimes we hear it and it sinks in. And I think the more I hear things, the more in me those things are. And it, I believe, has contributed to who I am as a painter and the things I've learned to hear it over and over and over again. So, no apologies for that. But hope that maybe it sinks in a little bit deeper for you. Okay. I do not paint a painting. Oh, wait. One more thing. One more thing. I can't leave this out because it's a favorite thing. There is a little foldable trash can underneath my easel. This wraps around one of the knobs on the tripod, and I don't have to listen to a plastic bag rattling. You know, they work great. Grocery bags work great. And we all have probably tons of them in our pantries. But I now have something that I, is permanent for me, and it will fold up flat when it doesn't have anything in it, folds up flat, sticks in my box. I just empty it when I get home into my garbage. Um, but these we have had a hard time finding.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up because we can't find them anywhere. And so someone might be able to find them for us.
If one of you finds, but I do know that there's collapsible things that they sell at Dollar General, or there's large, really big versions of this that people use for laundry. That would be too big. But if you're ever in a situation where you find something like this, a collapsible thing, let Kathy Odom know. I would love to know that. They were sold by a painting company, and I don't know what happened, but I wish they still had them. Okay, I do not start a painting without sketching. Now, I'm telling a little white fib, really, because every now and then the situation is that I only have a few minutes. It's about to rain, about to pour on me, and I'll forgo the sketch. But more than likely, I will do a sketch, and I call this getting the lay of the land. So the image that you have seen or you're going to see that Buddy will show you of what I'm going to paint today, I have already done a really quick sketch. Buddy, is it more helpful down here or here? Probably here.
Yeah, let me try.
Can you see that?
Yes.
It's just kind of given me, as I drew it, what the land or the scene in front of me is up to. There is a mountain. I've got a little bit of sky showing. There is a building with a red roof. You can't beat that. I also really took note of where I'm placing that building. A lot of people use a viewfinder, which is another version of taking your fingers and doing this and finding the scene that you want to paint, and you can move your fingers and bring them in and find that perfect composition that you're looking for. And I've talked a lot about composition in my other Zoom classes, but quickly, for all of us doing this, I'm going to show you a quick way to find a helpful element of composition. I just took my canvas, which is right here, and I've divided it into 9 shapes. So I have 9 squares here. If my center of interest or my focal point lands here, 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 or here, that is going to be a whole lot more interesting than if I put it right smack dab in the middle. It just helps give a composition that's much more appealing to the eye, much more interesting. And so, with my sketch, my building has landed down here in and it doesn't have to be right on it, just close in the vicinity of that, those where those shapes cross or the lines cross. Well, I've lost it. Let me find it. Here we go. So mine is right in here, that building, which I really think, because it's harder lines, a building is harder lines than the nature around it. It more than likely will be the focal point where the eye wants to go first. And then we'll do some things that help the eye travel around the canvas. But your canvas already has given you the first 4 marks of your painting. And you're thinking, what is she talking about? Each edge of that canvas has given you a line and a mark. And those are the first 4 things to take in consideration when you're drawing your scene. And so with those being done, I kind of visually look and find my building right in here where I want to paint. So,
Can you talk just briefly again about the photo line, because they are looking at a photo and you're not.
Okay. I'm not looking at the photo, so this will be a little tricky. A photo can warp the lines of what you see. It can distort. It cannot show you everything, but there are good photos out there. Please don't take me wrong. And there are things that once you know what it's, that plein air painting will teach you what photos are doing wrong. The more you plein air paint, the more you see, oh, there is no way that that line on that building should be tilted, but the camera might do that. So now we're in Tennessee and we have barns, and those barns are leaning. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about most construction. You have got builders and contractors that have used levels, and those side walls are straight up and down. And a photo at times will really mess that up. So that would be one thing I would say about using a photo in your painting.
And talk about your panels, panel carriers, stretched canvas.
Okay. My panel here is a Centurion. It is a Jerry's Artorama has them online, and they're often on sale. And I buy them only when they're on sale because I buy a lot of canvases. So I'll stock up during those times. And I also paint on a Raymar canvas that has a little bit more tooth to it. It's a little rougher, and it gives me a great vibration when I use that canvas. And as I paint, I'll talk more about the vibration. But we are out in nature, and it's not completely still. And there's leaves flickering and limbs moving. And I feel the breeze. I hear the birds. I watch the birds fly in front of things I'm painting. There is movement, and there is a way to accomplish that in your painting. And we'll be talking about that as I paint more and more outside. We'll also be talking a lot more about different equipment as I'm out here, but we've got 4 sessions together, and I'm sure that everything will come up um, at some point or another. But as far as getting the panel from the box to the car and then home without messing up the painting, there are actually wet painting carriers. And Raymar is a company that sells those. There are other panels that there's one guy that makes a wooden frame, and you put 2 paintings in facing each other, and it protects your paintings. Actually, my box will hold an 11 by 14 wet painting back here behind the canvas. There's a area for wet paintings. So I keep a blanket in my car, and one I don't care about, and I will just plop a wet painting on the back on that blanket that will kind of secure it. It's not going to slide around in my car. Sometimes that's just the easiest thing for me, is to do that. But at a painting event where I'm painting 1 to 3 paintings a day, you want to be prepared. You need to be prepared for moving your wet paintings. And there are lots, definitely Google it. There's a lot of options out there. Raymar has a box that will actually hold more than one size canvas in one box. And so that's an idea, but you do want to be prepared for that. A pizza box, that's one of the best things. If you're painting in a size that a large pizza box would work, it's a great way to travel with a wet painting. And I have not really found a pizza store that wouldn't hand me one for free, just because you tell them what you need it for, and they'll hand you one. Every now and then, go back and buy pizza from them. I do believe in supporting the people that are kind to us painters. So we're going to get started. Many of you are seeing this umbrella right here at my side. It is real important to have your canvas and your palette in the same light. So shade is not just for you. It's not just to take care of us from the sun. It also really plays a part in plein air painting. If I don't recommend this, but if you're outside and there's just no way to get both the canvas and the palette in the same light, they can both be in extreme light, but they just need to be in the same light. To have shade on this and then to go up here and paint this that's in the sun, you'll come home and your paintings will be way too dark. So I really believe, because the world is so lit up out here, but I really believe that if you can be under shade, find a shade tree, look where the sun is, look to see how long that shade is going to be there. Every plein air painting, I am throwing info at y'all so fast. I apologize for that, but most everything I'll say more than once. And forgive me. But you have this, it's a recording. You can go back and watch it again and catch what I said a little too quickly. But, and I was going to say something. The sun really, really moves pretty quickly. A painting outside should take you no more than 4 hours, and that's pushing it. 3 hours, I think, is kind of the magic number 2 hours, you're in great shape as far as the sun not moving too much, too fast. Um, this will make you a better painter because you'll get more painterly, you'll get quicker, you will have to move because you realize how much the scene changes, especially on a sunny day. Now, to give you more time, go out on a cloudy day. This you don't have the shadows. You don't have the sun moving. Yes, you have the sun moving, but it's not extreme. And I love painting on a cloudy day. It gives me more time. And I see it like this. On a sunny day, you've got a light and shadow painting. You've got things that are in the light and shadows that happen because of structures or things. Then on a cloudy day, you have a painting that's a little bit, I've heard it called a pattern painting. I call it a quilt painting because I see shapes that start to form my scene. And for me, a quilt lover, that just was a fun name for me to put on it. I just see it as more of a quilt painting. So as you go out and observe, as you go out and paint with your eyes, leave your paints at home one day, go sit on a park bench and paint with your eyes, and notice things, see things. Experienced painters should do this, and new painters should do this. Kathy Odom should do this. Sit and think, what would I mix to make that color? As well as having everything in place with my setup, my paints don't move either. My paints don't change and they don't move. In 12 years, I've stuck to the same palette. I'm one of those art students that took every art class in college, everything but oil painting. I do want to say that. I did not take a painting class, which I think is hilarious. But I wanted to do it all. So when I started painting at the age of 50, a big year and a wonderful year, all of a sudden I felt a lot younger than I did in my 40s. But I took a palette and I took what Richard Smith uses. My mentor uses his palette. And I thought, I love those two painters. I love how they paint. Why on earth would I change a thing? Everything I need is going to be there. Well, I took their palette. I started with it. Yes, I have added a few colors. I've gone to workshops where I thought I can't live without that color. So, and then I also have changed brands of paint at times. But all of those things have produced my palette. And with some help from some people a lot better than I am, I've got a palette that I think works for everything. So I do not walk down the paint aisle at our local art store and get tempted. I do not walk down those aisles and get tempted by all the gorgeous colors I see. I walk down the aisle with shades on, blinders on. I get what I need and I get out quick because I 12 years ago really wanted to oil paint and I wanted to get good at it. And I felt like if I got distracted like I did in college, that I would not make it as an artist, an oil painter. And I wanted it. I wanted it bad. So I really actually have had to restrict myself. So I've learned more by doing that. Yes, I'm a free person and I could go down that aisle and buy every one of those colors and have a ball. This has just been, and you may do that. This has been my way. And I have a feeling there's a few of you out there just like me that we are so visual that we get distracted by all the options and all the beautiful color. Well, I can mix a lot of beautiful color and I have an extensive palette. Some people just use the it's left me the primaries. Some people just use the primaries and they paint beautifully. They have a limited palette. I love color too much to be that limited. So um, I think Buddy has sent you my palette and and so you know what I use, and I will talk about colors as I paint. Um, but how are we doing on time?
You've got 50 minutes to paint.
50 minutes.
50.
Well, that's less than 3 hours, I know, and it's less than a quick paint. But we're going to get as far as we get, and we'll be back next week. There was a lot to cover today about stuff, and I'm really, really glad we did it, and I hope you are.
Do me a favor.
Yep.
Hydrate.
Oh, good idea. I'm so dry. Okay. My wash is Viridian, yellow ochre, and transparent red oxide. I don't know about y'all, but this rectangle here is one of the scariest things I've ever seen. And I'm gonna take care of that really quickly. I'm gonna put this on. It's a wash. It's got a lot of mineral spirits in it, very thin.
Say those colors one more time, please.
Viridian, yellow ochre, and transparent red oxide. A touch of transparent red oxide, not a lot. I don't want a mucky mess. I want color. And I'm looking at my scene, and I'm not doing anything really that's helping me other than I might do some strong diagonals in the shape that the land is going in, but all of this will go away. It's just an underpainting. So all of a sudden, I'm not scared anymore. It can only go up from here. Although sometimes the wash ends up being prettier than what I end up with, but and sometimes I dip my Viva towels in a little mineral spirits, but I'm just kind of spreading the love a little, softening up some of the brush marks. And what that does also is it gets some of that mineral spirits off of the canvas, so that my drawing will, the canvas will take my drawing. So my drawing color is transparent red oxide and ultramarine blue. I do not have black on my palette. There is an ivory black and yellow mixture that makes a beautiful green that I've experienced before, but I can get a beautiful black or dark by using transparent red oxide and ultramarine blue. And it depends on, do I want it really more dark black? If I do, I'll put more ultramarine in it. If I want it more on the brown side of things, vice versa, I'll have a little bit more transparent red oxide. And I'm going to start by thinking about the big shapes I see. And this mountain, the Chilhowie Mountain, is in front of me. And I kind of wanted to zoom into the building a little bit more, but I realized in teaching plein air painting that it would be wiser to have a little bit of sky in my scene today, just to make a point about our plains. And the plains are sky, ground, mountain or slants, and uprights. So there are 3 different things I need to think about. So here's an upright, slant is my mountain, and now I'm really thinking about the shapes I'm seeing. I'm gonna put in my building. One thing about plein air painting is things will change. Your shapes will change on a mountain because the sun may be hitting part of it and not hitting the other, and then it'll completely change. So you don't chase the light. If you've heard people talk about don't chase the light. So I'm right now getting my shapes in, and if they change because of the light, I know where they were when I started, and I have the option of going with what I see now to what might happen. I want to go with what I see now. And my sketch actually shows where there's a shadow on that building, and it's no longer there. It's gone away, but my sketch tells me where it was. So I'm going to go with that because I think it'll make it a little bit more interesting painting.
Brush.
I am drawing with a 279 rosemary brush. It's a very soft brush, but it gives me these broken lines. I can draw with paint almost like I'm using a number 2 pencil, and I can put more pressure down and less pressure, and I can draw like Rembrandt drew. His pencil drawings were just amazing, and they would be really, really light, and then he'd get really, really dark with the pencil. Look those up. Look up Rembrandt drawings. I like doing that when I'm drawing my scene. I'm zooming in on some of this a little bit more than what the scene is telling me, but I'm okay with that. And that's been really a problem I've had a little bit with plein air painting is I tend to see what I want to paint and I make it larger than it looks. to me as I view it. And I've gotten to be okay with that. It's something I do work on when I can concentrate and I'm not having to talk. Um, that brush can do a very, very thin line, but I can use it on its side to do these evergreens. I've kind of gotten carried away, kind of darkening some things, but that's okay. I'm having a really good time. I love to draw. This might be one of my favorite parts of the process. But I'm still thinking shapes. And as I'm drawing them in with dark, those darks will be used as my darkest darks in the painting. I will possibly talk less now that I've entered into painting. I could talk all day about the equipment, but as you noticed, I'm on that different side of my brain right now, trying to think about the creative part of this and where things should go. We've got some brand new leaves coming out, and then we still have some trees with just the buds. So this is a great time to plein air paint. A lot of interest. We get flooded with green in Tennessee during the summer, and it seems like it happens pretty quick. So as I'm doing these trees, notice that I'm really letting the lines be sketchy, because that's kind of how trees look. There is no way that I can paint every single limb, leaf that's out there. So thinking about shapes and the fact that I don't want to paint every limb out there. I'm not trying to do a realistic painting. I'm trying to do a representational painting. I'm an impressionist. I want to give an impression of what that scene is, not replicate it. That just doesn't sound fun to me. Some folks are realistic painters. I choose to want to paint like the impressionist, and so that means not every leaf, not every limb. Now, this tree right here, you really have to think about the distance. You know, these are huge trees back here, but they're further away. This one right here is right here in front of me, and it literally goes off the canvas and goes much higher than the amount of space I have on this 12 by 16. Also, I let myself go as far as I use the scene, especially on trees, to give me their shapes and what's going on. But there's nobody that's going to stand here and, you know, they're going to see this. They're not going to stand here when they're viewing this painting somewhere else in a gallery, in my studio, in somebody's home. They're not going to know exactly where those limbs are in this scene that I'm looking at. But I want to get close. I want to let the tree tell me how to paint it. But I'm not going to sit here and just be scared to death I'm not getting it in the exact place. I want the feel of it. And but I don't worry about getting it just right. If any of you were art students like in high school, and we spent so much time on contour drawing, and I used to whine and complain to my art teacher, you know, why are we doing this? We're going to be looking at our paper. Why do we have to do this? I may not have been that extreme. I was a pretty good girl. But anyway, I now know why contour drawing, why we did it, why it's valuable. I can be looking at the scene, find my place on my painting, and enjoy looking at the tree, and then, but still my brush is moving. There's this wispy little, it's probably a privet type bush, but it's right there. That's a telephone pole. There's one here too. Sometimes I put them in my paintings, and sometimes I leave them out. But for some reason, it connects the natural world with the world that man has made when I put them in, and it feels more realistic. Not all limbs go up, y'all. Some limbs go down. Sometimes we really have to get out of our head who we were as children and how we viewed things as children. when I get out here and I paint with my eyes, I start to see just the movement that a tree will have. And sometimes plein air painters, we get out here to do what we love most, and we don't use the scene. We don't look at the scene. Maybe we do use it. We use it and abuse it, but we don't look at what nature is doing, and it can be our greatest teacher. I will add some smaller limbs as I go later, but I do try to get in most of the dark things. And when a tree is budding, there's like some dark dots that appear, especially up where the sky is, and you can see them more. And I like to put a few of those in. So I'm really thinking like a tree. I'm looking at a tree and I'm trying to think like a tree to be able to paint it. So I have the shape of the sky up here. I have the shape of the mountain with a lot in front of it. I've put in trees. The landscape has given me its shape. It drops off down here beside the building and kind of comes to a skinnier area down here. There is this bottom of a trailer, like something I'm sure that connects to a tractor. I'm not going to paint that today, just because that would take a little bit more time, and I'm really curious how far we're going to get on this. But there is a creek bed that runs right down here at the bottom. It's coming toward me, so that'll widen a little bit. So here's my shape. Let me see what's going on. There's a hillside over here. There's kind of a garden area I can see. All of those things, yes, are things to paint, but not to labor over because they're not the focal point. But I do want to design the whole painting. And one thing I really do want also is to know that the dark lines are going off of each side of this. And I'm not having any trouble with that with this drawing because they all are. This space down in here is a little bit more quiet. And I believe a good painting needs some quiet as well as the objects that are in it. Yes, the quiet things are objects too, the ground or whatever, but that's something I've concentrated on for a couple of years, is realizing that my paintings needed some quiet space. And that lets the other things show off a little bit better. So I have that in my cap all the time, thinking about that. When you're at the edge of a tree line, there's going to be darks all the way down. And I use the side of this brush to find that for me. And as I go up with the greens of the hedges and different things, and there's a lot more trees in there than I have drawn. So I'm just going to pull that brush up with paint, loaded paint. Notice how I'm holding the brush. I'm letting it do the work for me, really. Okay, now you're wondering, how in the world is she going to put light color paints on top of this? It just happens, and I load the brush, and it's something I really can't teach anybody. It's something that you almost have to learn by painting, but you'll learn it. You'll figure it out as you know the viscosity of your paint, how thick, thin. There's a lot of things that you're going to have questions about. Well, I want you to go paint, go put paint to the canvas. And some of y'all are doing that every day. But those of you that are new, painting may be your best teacher because you're learning what that paint does and what it feels like. Okay, I'm going to go for the mountain shape first. And I'm going to squint my eyes. Squinting may be the better tool of anything that I've told you about. It all of a sudden separates the values more for me. I have been blessed with 20/20 vision, distant wise. I need help when I'm reading now, big time. But as far as distance, and so sometimes I struggle with the values. If I squint, it's like it gives me a map to how much lighter that mountain is than these trees going up in front of it. And sometimes I use my artist card and I push those colors. I push them a little bit bluer so that I know that that mountain is further away. So at this point, I'm trying to make that decision. I've gone to a bristle brush. Now on my palette, I've got a little friend that came to visit, a little bug. I have white and my solvent-free gel in piles right here beside each other. I mix that up and I make a pile of titanium white and solvent-free gel, and it's creamier. And that solvent-free gel helps to keep the paints more vibrant. And it also will go into almost everything at this point because I've gotten my darkest darks in. I'm going to come up here and just borrow from my drawing pile a little bit, and it gives a beautiful dirty kind of blue. And I'm going to borrow a little bit of alizarin. Today I'm really seeing a little bit of violet. There's trees up on the top of that mountain. So if I push up and pull down on that mountain range, it'll create those trees up there. up at the very edge. They haven't gotten their leaves yet. So just pulling down and letting some of that canvas show through there just creates those trees. I don't have to paint them individually. I'm just kind of coming across and getting that edge. The fact that I didn't mix enough paint there does not bother me, because if it changes a little bit, that'll just create some interest. I like my darkest darks to keep some transparency about them. And that's why I paint them first. And I think it avoids getting some muddy stuff going on. And even some of these spaces that are being left um, helps create some that vibration I was talking about earlier. Nature is always moving. Got a little too light there. So the light was hitting this earlier, and it's not quite doing it as much as it was, but there was a lot more lavender, which tells me that there's a lot of lot of pink buds on this part of the mountain. And if you're saying, I wonder why she is going to all that trouble painting around those trees that she could have painted later, it's for those reasons I just said. The darks would become muddier, and they just stay a lot more crisp and clean. And my painting ends up being a lot more impressionistic. So my palette knife it's going to come into play here a little bit. I can scrape with it. And it just gives these little areas where the canvas is showing back through. And that also will help create the vibration that I want. It will also do some blending. And it's okay if I go over some of the limbs I've already painted. I'll go back. I think sometimes a painting is a give and take thing. You put some things in and then you have to go back and find them again. There's another tree ridge here. I'm just gonna put in a few trees that Now my green wash is really working for me here because there are some light green leaves up on that mountain, and this wash showing through is doing that for me. It's already painted it for me. It's doing the job. I may come in with just a little bit more green and highlight one or two trees a little bit more. The tops are where I'm seeing some of that. Okay, then it runs into a field of green. Now, it's not the closest green to me. When you're out in nature, you see it. The greens that are further away have more blue in them. The greens that are closer to you have more yellow in them. They're brighter. There's a reason for that. And if you read in John Carlson's book on plein air outdoor painting, it's a book that was written a long time ago, and the language is not quite my language, but the one thing that I benefit from reading is that yellow is one of the first colors that disappears in the distance. We wonder why our mountains here in Tennessee turn blue when we know that there are green trees on that mountain. Well, it's because the distance and the atmosphere loses the yellow, and blue and yellow make green. So when that yellow disappears, the mountains turn a bluish color. Simple to say. It's, but all of those elements of hearing that for the first time as a painter, I was kind of blown away. Okay, I get it. I get why we see why our mountains are called the Blue Ridge Mountains or the Smoky Mountains, or it has a lot to do with atmosphere and our eyes and how far we see the yellow. Isn't that fascinating? It is to me. I often say also when something looks hokey, scrape it. Scraping can be a wonderful tool in making a representational painting. almost like I'm painting these little shapes between the trees. The tree limbs and the trees. We'll go for my darkest green, and I make that with Viridian and alizarin. It's just that really dark green that we see in evergreens. And it might look on camera like I'm just painting over my darks, and I am. I'm leaving some of them, but I'm getting the darkest greens. And there were two over here that were behind my telephone poles. That'll really make those pop. And I think also it will bring interest to the things that are light in the scene. At the bottom of these shrubs, there's going to be some really dark greens that that are right underneath that aren't getting any light. And if I get those in first, so typical oil painting is you're getting your darks in first, which I did with the drawing, and then I went and did those mountains basically because I'm going to have a lot of things around them or on top of them, and I needed to get that done. In fact, I want to take a blending brush right now to that part of the painting to just soften. And if I soften that, it's going to make it look like it's more in the distance. I'm using just a cheap chip brush from Home Depot or Lowe's, or some craft stores have them. Already, just softening that makes it go back and it blends a little bit more. I did lose some of my trees. That's okay. I can go right back to my drawing color and pull some of them back in. Don't want to do all of them. Now, on my red roof, let's get into this building a little bit. And you will see with my paintings that I don't finish everything, that has to do with trees and all that. I'm hopping around the subject because, for one thing, it stays more interesting to me if I do that. I'm putting this color on kind of broken. I dipped into Terra Rosa, probably Cad Red Light, a little bit of Quinacridone Rose.
Well, your umbrella, you're pushing your umbrella too far in. It's blocking the camera.
Oh, okay, okay.
To the back a little bit.
And I'm mixing again just to give a variety of color. It's a metal roof, so I'm trying to give an impression of that as I put the brush strokes on. Using my palette knife, I'm going to get that shape. A little bit more intensity in the color where it's peeking through this evergreen. Earlier, there was some, and I drew it on my sketch. There was some shadows of the leaves right here. So I'm going to put those in. I'm going to try to stay true to my sketch. So I added a little cerulean to the red, and I was told at one time that if you add cerulean to anything, it'll dull it. And I don't know the science behind that or the theory behind that, but it works. So there was also a shape of the shadow, and then there was some really bright white on the side of this building. So I'm gonna paint that. I mixed yellow ochre and violet gray Holbein. It's an off-white creamy building, and the shadow ended up being kind of a gray taupey color. So sometimes we think, you know, it's a shadow, it should have some blue in it. I did mix this with a blue, but it doesn't come off looking like a blue, or it didn't with the shadow. There's something, let me go ahead and put the lightest light there. Grab a, I'm gonna take yellow ochre and white, and I mean just a touch of yellow ochre, and I think I'll get that warm white of the building. A little bit of lemon yellow in it. It's a little, came off a little pinker than I thought. Might be something in my brush. But so once again, I'm avoiding some tree limbs. Okay, I've noticed.
Sweetheart, it's 3 o'clock.
Okay.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move a couple of cameras, put the camera square on this so folks can see it a little bit better what you've gotten so far.
Okay.
We're going to sit you down, so we're going to work on that, okay?
Okay, you go right ahead.
Okay, you're going to have to move for me here in a second. And while you do that, talk about being painterly while we move around. The microphone's still on you because you had mentioned that word earlier, and I think it's great for you to talk about that a little bit. Can you?
Yep. Painterly. There's something white in that window right there. And I really quickly want to just do some palette knife work around that window. I guess painterly is another word for impressionistic. It's just a word that helps me free myself up to loosen up, not be so tight. That roof looked funny because I didn't realize I hadn't painted the. And sometimes being painterly is a brushstroke representing a bush, or it's not painting every leaf on a tree.
Someone just said, she just can't stop.
Oh. If I didn't have to go to the ladies' room, I would agree.
See, I didn't bring it up. She tells me not to bring those things up because she'll start thinking about it. Okay, grab a seat.
Oh, but I'm really having fun.
Okay.
Okay. Just hold on a second. So sometimes I say to myself, Kathy, get jiggy with it. I know that sounds so silly, but for some reason, it's the perfect words for me to know that I should start moving that brush a little bit more. But no, this is not, where am I? This is not a finished painting, but I'm already excited about it. I've got some strong shapes going on here, and I'll do some more detailed painting. Next week, I will already have my sketch done. I will probably already have my drawing done in that you watched me do that this week, and we will get further and further into a painting. So thank you for being patient with the time limit and all the talking I need to do with you all makes this go a little bit slower than if I were just out here by myself with paints.
Okay, now we're going to move.
And without Buddy.
Step right over here. Watch your mic cord.
Okay.
And step right. Sit right there.
Okay.
Face this way.
Okay.
I think I've got it on the, I've got it on there on the painting, and I'll fix the umbrella. I'll fix the umbrella in just a minute.
Okay.
But tell us, what's your next move on this one?
Well, I will continue down the tree line and get all of that vegetation I just started with. Y'all saw just really within a minute was able to get this light green happening that's going in front of the building and beside it and in front of the evergreens. And I will tell myself, Kathy, the sun is moving. You've got to paint, girl. You've got to get going. And all of that encouragement, all of that talking to myself is leading me into painting more painterly, getting the painting done, getting it done before the sun changes too much. All of these things are in my mind as I am painting plein air. And then I'll hear a bird sing, and all of a sudden the pressure's gone and I'm in the element. So a lot of plein air painting has to do with being part of what you're a part of outside and letting that seep into you and then into the brush and then onto the canvas. I think that's why I'm so crazy about it, why I love it so much, and why I really want to spread the news about plein air painting. It can be frustrating. It can be hard. The world is a really big place when you start to put paint on canvas. standing out there and you're looking at everything. So finding that sketch, finding that area of what you're looking at that you want to paint and doing it, making, not expanding the world, but making the world smaller, will help you get started on a plein air piece.
Okay, the sun's been going in and out of the clouds.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone, not in and out. It's gone behind the clouds.
Uh-huh.
And so you've had a sun and shadow opportunity, or what did you call it earlier? A pattern. So
Yeah.
you chose to go sun and shadow. Is that right?
I did, because that's what it was when I first got out here. That's what I saw when I did my sketch. I do have to say, I have a true visual memory. I would have done a lot better in school if I had made flashcards for everything, I think. But I really do have a visual memory. A lot of people don't. This is something I didn't mention. Take a picture when you first get there to the site. Use that iPhone. It's magic as far as helping you with the way things change. It'll remind you what you saw earlier. Now, don't stand out in plein air and with your phone right here, painting what you see on your phone, because you want to use the outside for your painting. But for reminders on where light was, where shadows were, your sketch and your iPhone can really help with that. I painted a fly fisherman one day, and I knew fly fishermen don't stay still. They move with the river. I mean, they're here in one moment and across the river in the next. But I took a picture of him with my iPhone. I got as much of him as possible, the drawing, his shape. When he was gone, I had my iPhone there to see, how did that reflection in the water work? What color was his shirt? Things like that. That's when it really gets fun. It's like doing a puzzle, but it's a moving puzzle, and it's vibrating and it's alive.
Okay, Elaine, I guess she's from Oregon, because she said when she plein air paints, she puts the whole state of Oregon in her painting. I told her to start with Rhode Island, but so even when she has a focal point, she wants to put everything in.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Oh, I'm right with you, sister, is what I got to say. I get it, because we could be so excited about the scene, that we just want to. I pick and choose, and I pick the best. And sometimes I paint it in, and sometimes I paint over it to make my composition stronger. Let the painting speak to you and tell you what is absolutely needed and what is not. The more we simplify into shapes, the stronger and better the painting's going to be. And I so get your problem. I have that too. I do the same thing, but I sometimes will then bring it into the studio. And most of the time, my plein air pieces are finished outside. That's not always the truth, because sometimes I need to live with them in the studio, which I will put them up where I can look at them and let the painting tell me, is that too busy? That part's too busy. I need to simplify that. I need to make that stronger, or I need to soften something. So
I'm not being funny with this, but you have conversations, it sounds like, with your paintings.
I absolutely have conversations with nature. I have conversations with myself. I have conversations with a painting that comes into the studio. Something about verbalizing, something about me today, camera, which I said I would never do. And talking to you about what's going through my head as I plein air paint teaches me more and more about plein air painting. So thank you. Thank you for being out there and listening. And hopefully some of this will sink into you too. But yes, I'm half crazy. I get that. I'm okay with that. I feel like it's coming in and soaking into me, and I think it's helped my painting.
Are you a dark to light painter? Are you a back to front painter?
None of the above all the time. The the scene also tells me how to paint it. And this could have been started five, 100 different ways. Um, I could have done a complete value painting in transparent red oxide and then started to paint it over a complete painting that's monochromatic. Or there are times that I want to reserve some lights like a watercolorist, but I do it in oils. That's why the wash, I want to reserve some of that wash. So sometimes I paint like that. Um, that's why I'm not going to get bored with what I do. That's why I'm going to be painting in 30 years from now, God willing. But it's the scene tells me how to paint something. There are different methods. It depends on what side of the bed I woke up on that this morning. So if we all as artists come to a point or a time where we just want a recipe, we want the recipe. And the day I let that go, and the day I realized there's several ways of going about it, and I look at other artists in magazines, I guess at how they went about it. I then bring it into my fold and I start playing around with new ideas. That is what keeps this fun and wonderful in this career that I've started. Um, I was going to say something else and it left me. It'll come to me at some point. But
Let me ask you the next question.
yeah.
With all the greens that you have, we live in East Tennessee and the greens are getting ready to pile on. Do you ever use a different underpainting, like a warmer one, like on the red as the complementary color, or anything? You ever use any other
Yeah, well, as far as the bushes and the things like that are really green, I like putting more of a wash of the transparent red oxide under them. They really make the greens pop. The only representational green that's in my palette, the one color that looks like green, is Viridian. I never use Viridian by itself. I will mix other things in Viridian and I get a variety, a huge variety of greens when I use all my different yellows or my orange or even my reds in the green. I get all these different greens. So when I first started and that was the only green on my palette, oh my gosh, did I use Viridian? And I look back at those first paintings and go, I guess it's because it was the only green that I saw. But the mixing of greens is so valuable. And play around. The palette is right there. You can play around with mixtures. And if you don't like it, scrape it off. Definitely, I love that warm color under my greens, but sometimes I'll do violet under it on a cloudy day. So it changes. It changes a lot.
Okay, shift gears a little bit. Talk a little bit about brush management. Is it possible for you to do that? Because what I'm really want to ask is, um, you, can you break down what you're unconsciously doing? Because you have 5 to 8 brushes in your hand. Are you saving? You got one for darks? You got hues?
Yes, and they're all over here. A lot of them are over here in that brass tin that so there's a dark green, there's a light green, there's a warm white for the building, there's a brighter white for the building. There's the roof color on one, and one is solid dark, which is my drawing color. And I can pull that out and add darks back in places that I've maybe painted over something I didn't want to. I've got to know that those may end up being grayish because I'm mixing the light with the dark. But brush management, I'm grabbing a brush anytime I think that whatever I'm going to lay on the painting, I don't want contaminated with one of the previous colors. Sometimes that's a good thing. That shares the love of a color. But sometimes I need a clean brush. So I own quite a few 279s by Rosemary. I lay color on with them a lot, and I can grab a clean one. They're not real expensive. I love the way they spread paint. But a bristle, several bristle brushes, same thing. I don't want to contaminate a light color I'm about to put on with something that's got dark paint already on the brush. So as far as management, it's a little bit of an instinctual thing for me now. I've been painting enough that it is, but having good housekeeping on my poche box, having a place to put dirty brushes, and then being able to pull them back out if I need them. And then sometimes I'll just stop painting and go, I need to clean up a little bit. I don't want to distract my concentration, but there are times when I know I can stop and just manage things better. So I'm also can talk out of both sides of my mouth, and I know that. I can say one thing and then turn around and do the opposite. I think it's, instead of being negative about it, let me be positive about it and say it's part of the dance. There's a dance that goes on with nature, with painting, with mixing, with what brush I use. There's just this dance, and I've learned it by painting. I've learned it by listening at workshops. I've learned it when it was time for me to learn it. I might go to a workshop and only come away with one thing that makes Kathy a better painter. And that one thing was worth the whole price of the workshop. I used to go and think I needed to learn and absorb everything that teacher was telling me. There is no way. I need that one thing maybe that will propel me into being more like Kathy. So, yeah, there's a dance going on, definitely.
Underscore, you get your darks in first. After your sketch, it's your first move after, your sketch, your underpainting, and then you get your darks in. Do you use any whites at all?
No, white is the last thing I want to enter in. But yet I did the mountains, but they were up there away from a lot of the darks. So I went light on that. That's because they were behind a lot of my darks, and it was up and away from the ground plane. But I break the rules. Oil painting, you'll find a general definition, go from dark to light. Well, I don't always do that, but I do know I don't want to contaminate my darks with any paint that has white in it until it's time. and then there is a time to do it.
Explain the gel in the white, your solvent-free gel into the white.
It's half and half. It's half paint out of the tube and the same amount of solvent-free gel. It's an inexpensive medium that Gamblin makes. And I introduced it to my palette when I found out that the solvent-free gel will keep my paints more vivid during the painting process. When you get to the end of your painting and it's dried, we all varnish, or most of us varnish our paintings, and the color comes alive again because certain dark colors oxidize, they get dull, they get drab. Well, the solvent-free gel, if I mix it into my darkest darks, it'll stay more alive. And then when I mix it in with the white in that pile up at the top, that pile, that's where I grab my white to mix pastel-y colors and making a dark green go to a lighter green. And but that gel being in there will keep it more shiny, more vibrant. It helps it move. It gives it a creaminess. It has several things it does. It also will help my paints dry faster. So if you're a really slow painter in the studio, you might not like using it. But if you're outside, you're doing plein air, you want to sell your painting in a week and it's dry and you can varnish it, the gel will really help with that.
Are you going to leave paint on your post-shade box? You're going to leave the paint there?
I will more than likely finish this after we're off camera, and then we'll send you all an image. If I don't finish it today, I'll finish it in the next couple of days. But I like a fresh painted painting. I like to do it in one session if I can. And most plein air paintings, that's what you do. That's what the image in front of you is giving you, one chance. Now, if the weather is exactly the same tomorrow, which it's not, it's going to rain here, and I know that, and more leaves are going to pop out in the next few days, it would be best if I finished this painting today. So, will I leave the paint there as long as I need those colors? And then I will scrape and clean. I know what I mixed to get what I mixed because I've been painting long enough to know my colors. I can get them again. And if I don't want them exactly the same, that doesn't no, if I want them exactly the same and I can't get it, that doesn't bother me because it'll then bring variety in my colors. Variety makes a more interesting painting all around.
How many paintings, this is a question from someone, how many paintings do you paint before you feel like you've got one good enough to sell?
It could be your second painting and it could be your 150th painting. It just depends on how the paint goes on the canvas and how you feel about it. I was really good at making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich look pretty. And there's something I know about creamy, decorating a cake kind of thing. Some of that comes into play when I'm painting. Now, if you make a messy peanut butter sandwich and your kids get all that yumminess all over the crust, that's a good thing. And maybe some of the messiness you experience as a new painter might be exactly what some painters are striving for. I will give you this secret that I think really improved my painting was when I realized how strong shapes needed to be. And I had to find those shapes. And a lot of detail type stuff can muddy some of those shapes up. So far, I think I'm seeing strong shapes here. I don't want to get them washed out with a lot of detail-y stuff, but I will go in with more detail the more the painting develops. And it's a feel. It's just a feel. If you stand back and go, I think I have something here. I think something's happening. Then you more than likely you've got a painting worth selling. When you get excited about it. Now, we can be our worst critics. And I am still to this day. And I'll leave a painting I've been working on disappointed. And I'll go in and I'll go to sleep and I'll wake up the next morning and either the painting fairies have come or I just needed to step back. I just needed a breath of air. I needed to get away from it. And then coming back, the painting might tell me what it needs or to stop. It's done. I think one of the hardest things for all of us is knowing when a painting is done. And that's an art in itself. And it's just one we're going to have to keep trying to learn.
Well, we're done here. How you doing?
I've talked my head up. My jaws hurt. I've talked a lot, y'all.
Folks, I'm going to send later on when Zoom sends me the link for everything that you just heard and saw from Kathy. I will forward it to you. I'll send you a photo of the sketch. I'll send you a photo of the image that I was toggling back and forth. Remember that photos fool you. Yeah, babe.
Yeah, I've got something to say here. This is a plein air workshop. For you to sit and paint the same scene that I've just painted today is not why you're taking this class. This class is for you to go sit on your patio or your balcony or go out to the park and paint outside. Paint outside. Yes, it will teach you something to paint this same scene that I did, but that's not why you're taking this Zoom class. You're taking it to learn more about going outside to paint. So I would love for you to send back the images to us on things that you went outside that captured your heart and you wanted to paint. That's what it's about. That's what it's about.
Thanks. This is a 12 by 16. Someone asked, and someone also asked about the easel again. It's a Manfrotto. Everything we have said sounds Southern to you. Now, not to us, but it's a Manfrotto 290 extra. Now the extra
is the tripod, not the easel.
Oh,
tripod.
Forgive me. That's right. Okay. Someone asked about the tripod, Manfrotto 290 extra. Leave the E out of extra. It's XTRA. Yep.
And they're kind of expensive.
They're real expensive.
Believe me, you will end up spending double that on other kinds. It's a boss. I am not a salesman, but when I believe in something, I believe in it. And I really love it.
Thanks, everyone. I'm going to go push the goodbye button while she says goodbye.
Y'all get outside and paint. Plein air paint. That's why you're taking this. It's so much fun.